So, hi everyone, it's me, Jen. Today what we've got, I'm going to try and do kind of a do-it-yourself restorative yoga class at home. So before I get started on describing what we're going to do today, welcome. My apologies for the dog that you see. That's Greg, by the way. We just adopted him a couple weeks ago with all the closings of animal shelters. So he's made himself right at home, and he apparently is quite the fan of yoga. There are a couple other dogs in the house, but right now they're sleeping. So I apologize ahead of time for any dogs, but hey, entertainment, right? So restorative yoga is basically yoga that is, it allows you to super relax. So before we get started, what I want you to do, and I know that you're at home, so you might not have access, there's Cookie, to all of these props. So I have rated my house, and you can rate your house too, and then you can push the pause button. Once you have all of your equipment, then we'll get started. So things that I suggest that you have, because restorative yoga is a fully supported yoga that allows you to relax. Your muscles are not doing anything. You're not burning calories, guys. This does, however, allow everything, just the relaxation response to kick in. And you can only do that when you're doing nothing. So, if for whatever reason you do actually have some bolsters, so some yoga bolsters, by all means, bring those out. But I anticipate that most people in their own home don't have yoga bolsters. So in that case, just get as many pillows as you can, and preferably of varying sizes. So I've got 2 normal bed pillows and then 2 just throw pillows, okay? And then if you do have a block at home, a yoga block at home, go ahead and get that out. And again, most of us probably don't have that at home. So in this place of a yoga block, what you need to get, and we are going to use do a pose where we need a block. So if you don't have the block, just get a stack of books, okay? And it works best if they're pretty sturdy books and all of the same size. So I have a stack of 5 books. I teach Latin, so I'm currently using a Latin dictionary, 501 Latin verbs. Glad to see my Latin is being very useful. So I've got a stack of books that I'm going to use in place of a yoga block, okay? And then the last thing, and it's probably the easiest thing for everyone to get, is a blanket. So certainly if you have a yoga blanket, you can do these little Mexican blankets, just any blankets. And the more, the better. The easier you can just relax into these poses. So get some pillows, get some blocks or books, get some bolsters if you have those, and get as many blankets as possible. For this, you don't even really need a yoga mat. You can actually just lay on the floor, lay on the carpet, or lay out some blankets. So once you've gotten that, let's go and get started on our first pose. And our first pose is going to be a supported corpse pose, so a supported Shavasana. So what we're going to do is we're going to take either a pillow or a bolster. We're going to use that for our head, all right? So we'll use the pillow for our head. And then what we're going to also do is you can take either another pillow or you can take a blanket. And you can roll up the blanket like this, and we're going to place it under our knees, okay? So get your props, get your equipment, and then go ahead and settle into your pose. And with restorative yoga, you can never have too many props. The more props, the more blankets, bolsters, all of that stuff, the more you can fully relax. And so what I'm going to do through this 20 to 30 minute practice is I'll demonstrate how you get into the pose, and then I'll probably sit up so I can kind of guide you through that particular shape, through that particular pose. So now we've got our props. Go ahead and I invite you to lay down. Make sure you've got something for your head, placing a blanket or even a bolster or a pillow under your knees. And take a minute to give yourself some time to adjust. So I'm noticing that I don't feel as relaxed. Maybe I'll place a pillow under my knees on top of that blanket. So feel free to give yourself some time. Oh, that already feels better. to get into the posture. And then once you've found the amount of proppage that's going to serve you best, lightly float those eyes closed. Allow your head to rest gently on top of your pillow or your blanket. Allow your body weight to just sink on top of your pillow, which is under your knees. And feel your weight just melting into your mat or wherever you're at. Allow your fingertips to be so lightly relaxed they just curl. Allow your feet to kind of splay open. And settle into this pose. And again, I remind you, once I've put you into the posture, I will sit up so it's easier for me to speak and guide you. So as you settle into this supported corpse pose, I want to talk for a moment about the way restorative yoga practice operates. So who should do restorative yoga? Basically, the more active you are, the more you do, the more you probably need a practice like this. The more you probably, your body and your mind really crave a spot to just fully relax. So here in this pose, you find yourself melting into your mat, your body, your muscles doing nothing, and that activates the relaxation response. In a typical restorative practice, less is more. So what that means is for today's very short do-it-yourself yoga practice, we're going to hold, I think I've got 5 or 6 poses, that's it. And we'll hold them for 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. Less is more. As you relax in your supported posture, notice your breathing. And in order to continue to activate that relaxation response, here in this first pose, and we'll do it again in our final pose, we're going to try and lengthen our inhalation and in particular lengthen our exhalation. So here in your supported Shavasana, your supported corpse pose, breathing in and out through our nostrils, I invite you to breathe in to a count of 2, and then exhale to a count of 3. Breathe in, 1, 2, breathe out, 1, 2, 3. So lengthening that exhalation. Breathe in, 1, 2, breathe out, 1, 2, 3. If you find this too simple, I invite you to lengthen by 1 count more. So let's breathe in to a count of 3 and exhale to a count of 4, perhaps even 5. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And continue doing that on your own, but make sure that you're not forcing the breath. So long, smooth, complete inhale. Long, smooth, complete exhale. And feel free certainly to change it, going back to your 2, 3, or 3, 4 count. But whatever you do, just make sure that you're lengthening that exhalation, just by 1 or 2 more than your inhale. A few more rounds. You're in this very simple posture. Breathe in and breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and flick those eyes open. take a moment here to pause. Notice how you feel before we move on to the next pose, and that's a supported bridge pose. So go ahead and take your props out of the way. The hardest part about a restorative yoga practice is just getting all of the props, right? So for supported bridge, again, if you have a block, you can use a block. If, however, you don't have a block, you can use your stack of books. The benefit of using the stack of books is that you're feel free to remove a book or add a book depending upon what your body and your mind is desiring, okay? So what we're going to do, or you could even use a blanket for supported bridge. So for whatever reason you'd rather use a blanket, by all means you can do that. Just make it a little lengthwise. You could even take the blanket and set it on top of some books so you have a little bit of cushion. I think that's what I'll do, is to take a couple of books and set the blanket on top, all right? So for bridge, what we're going to do is we're going to take both feet and place them on the ground. We're going to lower onto our back and then bring our feet hip distance apart, as close to our heels as we can, all right? And then all you're going to do is you're going to lift up your butt, lift up your hips, and then slide your blanket, your books, your block right underneath that sacrum, that low back. And then allow your arms to come to the side. This is one of my favorite restorative poses. And notice first, before you fully relax into the pose, if it feels good. So maybe if you're using books, maybe you want to stack one more. If you're using blankets, maybe you want one more or one less. Notice first how it feels and if it's going to serve you. And be careful here. The one thing that you need to make sure you're doing in supported bridge, well, I suppose two things. So first of all, we're not arching our neck. So if anything, our chin should be sort of tucked in, right? And then secondly, make sure that your knees aren't popping out. So if anything, your knees are lightly in, our toes are turned lightly in, because we don't want to hurt our knees here. But it should feel really, really comfortable. And once you've made any necessary adjustments that you need in order to achieve that comfort, once more, float those eyes closed. Allow those fingertips to just relax. And breathe. If you want to continue the inhaling to a count of 2 or 3 and exhaling to a count of 3 or 5, by all means do that. I typically only do that in the first and last pose of restorative practice. And for the postures in between, I just breathe and let it go. As you relax into this pose, getting out of it can be tricky. So as you continue to stay relaxed into this pose, I want to share with you something that I heard on a podcast actually fairly recently. And that was something that goes like this. In complicated times, the answer is never to complicate things even more. So when things get really complicated, the answer answer should always be to simplify, simplify, simplify. And if you're anything like me, right now life seems incredibly complicated, incredibly confusing and stressful. And that's why at home, my own personal yoga practice is becoming simpler and simpler and simpler. Not that I'm doing less, less is more. I'm just relying on making my yoga practice about the things that are going to make me feel better and comfortable. And on many days, it's a practice like this, where I slow down and allow my body to relax. Remind yourself that you're here. If you find yourself drifting away in your supported bridge pose, it's one of my favorites. It's really easy to just relax so much that I zone off, honestly. Remind yourself you're here. And then very slowly lift up your hips and remove whatever prop that you placed under your back. So your blanket, your block, your books. If you saw me, I kind of slipped out a little bit out of that pose as I was getting out. And then gently put those props to the side. And after you do any back bend, including a supported back bend like bridge pose, it's always important to do a counter pose, typically a forward fold of some sort. And so that's why we're going to move into our next pose, which is a supported child's pose. All right. So for supported child's, there's so many different options that we can do. So if you've got your bolsters, you can place your bolsters, or bolster or singular, on top of each other. If you've got a blanket, you can use your blankets, you can use your pillows, whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to create a nice, comfy stack of just ooey gooey fluff, right? So as I'm using everyday equipment, stuff that everybody has in their house, so I just stacked up my pillows. I personally have a hamstring issue that affects my right knee. So if you're a person that when you're at a yoga class, your knees give you a little bit of grief, what you can do is you can take a rolled up blanket and then place it at the back of your knees, all right? And so you're gonna take your legs, open them up as wide as your yoga mat, your big toes come to touch, and then super slowly, we're just going to fall onto our pillows, onto our bolsters, and allow your arms to just relax to the side. Allow your head to turn toward one side. And notice which side you turn to. We are creatures of habit. So again, now that you're in this pose, I'm going to gently pull out so my voice isn't muffled from the pillows, so you stay. Lightly float your eyes closed if you haven't done so already. Give yourself a moment to make any adjustments that you need to. So maybe you need more pillow or less pillow, blanket or no blanket. yourself the gift of really finding support in something other than yourself. The gift of something else doing the work, the pillows, the blanket doing the work, and your body just an opportunity, your mind just an opportunity to do nothing, to observe. Continue breathing. One of the benefits of restorative yoga, besides the obvious benefits of relaxation, is it creates and fosters the conditions that you need in order to really listen to what your body and your mind are often yelling at you and screaming, and yet so many times in the chaos of this world, our mind, our voice, our body is always do, that we can't really hear. But restorative yoga creates the conditions where you can really listen. What is it that you need to pay attention to? Where is it that you feel tension that you haven't felt tension before? Where is it that you felt sadness or joy in your heart and your mind that you haven't felt before? This practice allows you to feel and hear those things. Couple more breaths here in your supported child's pose. And then very slowly rise up, remove your props, set those to the side, and you guys are in for a real treat. We're going to do my favorite restorative yoga pose. So, my favorite pose is a supported butterfly. So again, if you've got a block, you can use a block. I know that many of you don't, so in this case, I'm going to use some books. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to create a little stack. So take your books, take your block, and set them up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take either your bolster, and again, if you have a bolster, great, I think it works better. But if you don't have a bolster, let's take a big stack of pillows, and we're going to create like a little ramp on top of the books, okay? So do you guys see that I've got my books, and then I'm taking some pillows, and I've got a little ramp. All right. And then if you have extra pillows, what I could do, or you could do, or even if you've got extra blankets, so take the smaller stuff and you can set it to the side. So the way you get into this supported butterfly is we're going to put our butt up against the bottom of the pillow. So my butt's not on the pillow, but just right up against the pillow. And then I'm going to fall super slowly on top of the pillows, which are on top of the block or the books. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together. And here in supported butterfly, you can manipulate the intensity so you can have your feet super close to the groin. I think that should be avoided by most of us because we are going to hold this for a few minutes. So maybe extend it so it's your feet a little bit farther so it's more like the shape of a diamond. Now if you want some extra juiciness for this pose, and I dare you to try it, it feels so good. Take some pillows or even your books or blankets and place them under your knees so your knees kind of relax on top of the pillows. This is my favorite. Again, as we've done, I invite you to take a moment to experiment. Do you need more blanket, less pillow, more books? Allow your head to just collapse onto the pillow. And experiment with all of those props. Once you find the setting that is just right, experiment with the placement of your hands. So you can get a real heart opener here if you extend your hands out. Again, palms facing up. Sometimes I like to place my hands on my belly just as a gentle reminder to breathe. But you do you. So once you've found that place where you want to place your hands, again, melt into this final pose before we end where we start, and that's Shavasana. Soften your forehead. Allow your tongue to just relax against your teeth. And maybe, just maybe, you find that this pose makes you feel good. So maybe, just maybe, you smile. Continue in your supported butterfly. Remind yourself to breathe. Remind yourself you're here. Remind yourself that there is no way you can get this wrong. You're only doing it wrong if you're not feeling good. You're welcome to stay here in supported butterfly, or you can certainly extend your legs out so that you're in a modified supported corpse pose. You can certainly keep the pillows and the ramp up. To me, that feels really, really good. Or if you crave a more traditional Shavasana where you lie fully outstretched on your back, I invite you to do that as well. Don't be afraid to try a different Shavasana. So if you like this supported butterfly, dude, keep it up. encourage you to keep whatever last pose, the supported butterfly, the supported shavasana, whatever it is that you choose, hold it for as long as you want. But whenever you are in fact ready to end your practice, make sure you do it slowly with intention. I hope you enjoyed this do-it-yourself yoga practice. Hopefully you found a couple of poses that you can do at home with props that you have in your house. I hope that you found a spot where you can create a relaxing environment. Thank you so much. The deepest part of me honors and celebrates the deepest part of you. Namaste.